So Renee, welcome, Renee.
Thank you.
We're super happy to have you on. I know that this is a long time coming. A lot of us are very interested in this, what you've done with your business. And we can tell you that Renee came on and did 4 sessions for our agents at Mortgage Architects that ranged from, you're looking for business, how to build your pipeline and get those initial leads to, okay, now you've stacked it up a bit. You're starting to feel a little busy. When is the time to start delegating? And then onwards and upwards, all the way to kind of your level and your volume and what kind of business running needs you really need in order to get to that next step for growth and not kind of have that glass ceiling over your head. So those sessions went really well. Our brokers absolutely loved them. So I've asked Renee to come on here and just have a little chat with me so we can kind of go over some of those
Hmm.
points that she outlined because there was a lot of amazing content covered there. A lot of very tangible takeaways. I know some of our agents have been saying I've been in business a long time and I never thought of these things and I've already started using them and they're directly affecting my business in a positive way every day. So very excited to go over that with Renee. First off, let's give a little bit of a background. So, Renee, you're out in Alberta, in Calgary, right?
In Calgary. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you are the lead of Spire Mortgage Team.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a production team. So I just have two brokers that do a little bit of business on my team. And then, but mostly I just have underwriters and fulfillment staff that support my business. So super focused on my own personal production and not on like growing a team. And I like to always qualify that because I think those are really two different ways to show up in the industry as a team lead, like somebody that's actually mentoring agents on a regular basis and that has like a big team of agents that are looking for their own business, whereas I have a team of underwriters and fulfillment staff that support my business. Yeah.
Totally. Those are the different models that we see. And I think it also kind of comes down to goals and personality types. Like some people prefer to be more of a mentor and a teacher and bring on agents to train and raise up, whereas others
Mhm.
prefer to focus more on the business and the relationships with clients and kind of building and scaling with volume and through time, hopefully, and growth, delegating out those roles. And that tends to be the role
Mhm.
or the model that I see as the most profitable in the industry when it comes to how much volume an individual can do. It kind of reaches
Mhm.
a certain point where you can't possibly do everything, and we're gonna go over that. And when you knew
Yeah.
was the point to start delegating, and how you wrapped your head around that too. So you've
Mhm.
had Spire Mortgage Team, I think, almost 9 years now.
Yeah. 8 years. Yeah. So this
Eight,
is,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you've got a podcast too?
I do, yeah. It's called Inspired Agents. So I filmed one this morning. We've been madly filming. Yeah, if anyone wants to follow along at Inspired Agents on Instagram, that's kind of where we roll out some of our stuff. It's mostly, I talk to a variety of folks in the industry, real estate and mortgage related. And so, yeah, it's something that was a goal to have a podcast this year and just start. It came from a spot of, I won't go too deep on this, but I write down goals every year. And so my 2024 goal was to put myself in new rooms. I felt like I wasn't in rooms with enough folks in the industry, and I just needed to work harder at putting myself in new rooms and meeting new people. So I really networked as hard as I could in 2024. And what I found was that like I met so many amazing people, but I wanted to work on deepening my conversations with them. So my 2025 goal that was scratched out on a napkin was not just to meet people, but actually have deeper conversations with them, more meaningful conversations. And what's crazy is a few months into really focusing on that and getting to know people, asking them hard questions and, sharing authentically about our businesses, all these amazing conversations started happening. And I was like, my God, like I have to record these because they would be so useful to so many other people. And so that's where the podcast came from, was just to try to like focus on my goal, hold myself accountable to that goal of having those deeper conversations, but then actually try to like cut those sound bites out and share them because sharing what I'm doing and helping the people around me level up is a big like, kind of personal goal of mine. Like what you put into the world is hopefully what you get back. So
A
anyway,
hundred
that's where that came from. Sorry not to digress too much there.
No,
But
that's great to know. I think I mean as someone who I do have my podcast, obviously the Mortgage
yeah.
Group didn't start off as a podcast, but it is available for digestible content over podcast. So I do have a lot of people who are catching the content on Spotify or YouTube afterwards on the go. I think that it is something a lot of people consider and they kind of like weigh the positives and negatives and like, is this something that's worth my time? And
Yeah.
probably it comes down to, it's not necessarily going to per se like be an amazing marketing tool. Maybe it is for some, but I think more so if your main goal is to have more interest, like you said, more interesting, productive conversations, deeper conversations, and expand your network that way. Because what I've found unexpectedly through having all these deep conversations over the past few years running this is even more developed relationships too, with some really like successful individuals in the industry, such as yourself, that I maybe wouldn't have got to meet. And it's, opened some doors and a lot of knowledge too that I didn't really
Yeah.
expect to have. I now I've been lucky enough to get from some of the industry's top people. So definitely lots to
Mhm.
consider there, but that's not today's focus. So we're gonna dive right in, guys. Renee, we just want to know like how you built your business. You're now recently moved over to Mortgage Architects, so you're
Yeah.
the Borley team.
Yeah, yeah. I started out and I was part of a Mortgage Center Canada franchise, MMG Mortgages. Amazing, amazing franchise. Learned so much from the gals over there. And it was just, Tara and I really hit it off. I love the Mortgage Architects family. I think there's lots of folks at Mortgage Architects that it's a vibe, right? Like I don't know, it's a real vibe, the Mortgage Architects vibe, and it seems to fit me well. So it took me a while to come around to it, but I'm so glad it did because when I did decide to make the move, I was so clear on like who I am as a mortgage broker, what I want my team to look like, how I want to show up in the industry, and so I'm excited to be here, and it was such an easy choice because I'm just so clear on who I am and how I want to show up. And I think like sees like, right?
Yeah.
It seemed like a really obvious answer. But yeah, my career started, I traded commodities for a long time and reinvented myself in mortgages as my second career. And so yeah, started about 8 years ago. Was just gonna kind of do it as a little bit of a more casual sideshow. I was a stay-at-home mom at the time, and I fell in love with it really, really quickly. It went from casual to not casual in about 3 months. So
That was my question was like, what did the first 3 to 6 months look like?
yeah. I For anyone that did the sessions, I talked a lot about kind of how I sold myself in those months. And so I owned a bunch of rental property. I was always really passionate about owning real estate. And so I spent a lot of time um, researching what it looks like to buy rental property. And so for me in those first months, I tried to focus on something that I knew something about. So I tried to focus on teaching people how to buy rental property. And so I was super confident talking about it because I did it with my own money. And so I reached out to real estate brokerages and was like, hey, listen, do you have new agents that need training? I would happily train them about, rental properties and rental pro formas and how to evaluate properties and how you can get a rental mortgage. And so I really focused on that, reached out to some BDMs and was like, hey, listen, if I'm going to help people buy rentals, what does that look like? Where does that fit? Did a lot of research. And so I spent just so much time talking about something that I knew and was passionate about. And so I think for all of us, that can be something different. But I didn't focus so much on like mortgages or Manulife One or, some of the things that people really lean into. I focused on rentals because that's what I know about.
I mean, definitely good to lean on what your knowledge is already around, right? So
Yeah.
you I think it was a good co not coincidence, but it was good that you already had an area of the industry that you specialized in. So is
Yeah.
that kind of where your earliest leads came from? Was people that you were working with in that
Yes.
sphere?
Yes, definitely. And I put myself in rooms like I joined lots of networking groups. I joined the real estate investment network. I like I made myself personal challenges. Like if I would go to a spin class, it would be my challenge to get the first name of the person on the bikes on either side of me at that spin class. And like that is so awkward. Like I hated every minute of it, but like I made myself do it. You almost have to gamify it with goals and challenges when you're getting started because it's really easy, I think. I actually just did a podcast with Jill Mollering last Friday, and she and I were saying like new agents should spend like 4 hours a week on training and the rest of their week prospecting. And most new agents, it's the opposite. They spend 36 hours a week, you know, sitting on training, sitting on lender calls, and it's like, guys, you got nothing to practice if you don't have any leads. You should spend 36 hours out in the world just asking people for business, right? And forcing people to tell you no, right? And like none of us want to hear no, but like the best salespeople hear no all the time. Like I hear no all day. And I think that's what people forget is like I'm an amazing salesperson. And it's because I push for no. It's like either that person's going to move forward with me or they're going to say no, right?
And you know what? There's no harm in getting a no. I'd say almost like count your
Yeah.
no's as a positive. Like, if
Yeah.
I have my own kind of tricks too that I use, and I think I really like what you said about gamifying it. Like, don't take it
Yeah.
personally, guys. It is
No.
not personal. If you're asking for someone, whatever you're asking for, if they say no, no harm, no foul. In fact, the
Yeah.
more no's you get, the better you are at receiving those and turning them maybe into future yeses, right? Because there's
Yes.
always that relationship building aspect of it too that I think, okay, not your number one choice now, but I want to be your number two so that when number
Yeah.
one doesn't come through or you're looking around for a second opinion, you know where to look, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. So it takes a lot of rejection, a lot of putting yourself out there. We kind of need to like grow a shell. And
Mhm.
that's why they call it net work because it is work. We all
Yeah.
have a little bit of social anxiety. Nobody walks into a room and, loves the idea of having turning conversations that are casual into sales
Yeah.
conversations. But it really is it's experience. It's building that up and just being able to be that social and receive with grace a smile on your face when
Yeah.
people aren't kind of going to go the way that you want. That's definitely a skill, I think.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
if people, let's say, okay, you said like you put yourself in a spin class. I'm interested in this. So you did have that initial audience of people that you worked with in, the rental world. If you didn't have that at all, where would you start?
Yeah, I think that it's really good to practice showing up in service in your community. So I talked to this as well, kind of on those sessions, is that I joined the community board for the Springbank Hill Community Association, which is where I live in Calgary. One thing that I'm really good at is fundraising and organizing. So I set up a fundraiser for them. I hosted a fundraiser event. What did I have to do? I had to reach out to folks in the community to ask for sponsorship to that. So like it just really, really quickly built my network. I show up and I volunteer for things at my kids' school. I literally this morning just said to my husband, "Gosh, I haven't done anything at the school recently," and there was a cookie baking thing, and I was like, "Okay, I got to get these cookies into the school and visit with some folks at the school." And that's not visiting and like being greasy and asking people if they need a mortgage while I'm there, but it's just, showing up in service as an essential part of my community and making sure that people see my face, know I'm a real person. And then in addition to that, you have to have a professional presence online. Like you have to have a professional LinkedIn account that tells people what you do and why you're good at it. You have to have a professional social media account, Facebook, Instagram. Like it has to happen in the day and age that we live in. So I think, just show up in your community. Like where can you connect with somebody that you don't know well already, and work your way into their network of people as a trusted source of information as it relates to money and real estate, right?
100%. I think if you guys were on the last episode we had with Rebecca, it was a similar conversation in that showing up authentically in your community and
Mhm.
almost that rule of
Yeah.
reciprocity, giving back to the community without expecting anything in return, but make sure they know who you are and what you do. right?
Yes. Yeah.
Right? So it's important to ha establish those authentic connections. But through an authentic connection, you're going to have conversations about, what do you do? What are your kids into, etc. So, make sure that you're not doing yourself a disservice because if it's a natural, organic conversation about what you do, it's not going to come across as salesy. And
Yes.
offering somebody, then asking, hey, when's your mortgage up for renewal? Like oh, you guys live a couple blocks from us. That's awesome. When's your mortgage up for renewal? Would you like a second opinion?
Hmm.
I don't think anyone's going to say no to your offer of just kind of more experience and knowledge, right? So I think
Yeah, exactly.
it's a true talent skill to be able to have those conversations and not feel like you're being salesy, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're obviously somebody that's really mastered that.
I think this is the thing, guys, is at the end of the day, you're not selling anything. And at the end of the day, these conversations aren't about you or what you have to offer. They're about the person you're speaking to. So, like, the true skill is learning that you're asking questions. You aren't telling, you are asking. And so, like, it comes up so organically. People want to talk about real estate and mortgage rates. They want to talk about it. It's something that stresses them out. The media is full of it, right? And so, if you're asking people how they are and actually listening to their response, not just waiting for, an opportunity to tell them something, it just comes up so organically. Yeah.
I love that. Ask, don't tell.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, is there something that you tried out in the beginning that you thought would work that just didn't?
Yeah. You know what? We did some paid ads. And you know what? I think they're very, very effective if you're good at it and if you have a system. But that's something that I've tried to move away from and tried to move into like more of a belly to belly marketing space. Really tried to move into like the referral space as as my business has grown. So it's not to say they didn't work, but I just know that that's like a type of work that I don't necessarily want to do. When I look back at it, we got so many reps in. Like I got so good on the phone because I spoke to so many people on the phone so quickly because of those paid ads, but it was a huge expense with fairly low return on my investment. So, I wasn't amazing at it. That's something
Yeah.
like, so I don't think that that's a right or a wrong thing. I think you have to try a bit of everything and figure out what you're good at and where you want to shine.
I think if you're relying on it and solely paid ads as, your only source of sourcing out business, then maybe you're expecting too much. And if you're doing a direct calculation of ROI, it's not necessarily going to compute. It's a combination of factors. And, we talk about this all the time, like being on your socials, being in your community. And then if you do want to do a boost, maybe even considering that part of, as Renee said, part of the ROI on that paid placement is going to be
Mm.
the conversations that it's going to force you to have, and the
Mhm.
circles that it might open you up to, maybe the cold calls that you're going to receive, so that you
Mhm.
get better at handling those things until maybe it's no longer necessary.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
So what changed for you and kind of how you did business between deals number one and number maybe 10, 15?
Yeah. So when I started, I did it all myself, as we do, right? You have to learn what you're doing. But honestly, by deal five, I knew like I'm very clear on what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. I'm very, very weak administratively. Like I'm a process-based thinker, so I can kind of get the process down, but then I have no interest in the administrative side of the business at all. I love the humans facing side, the belly to belly side. I love the marketing side. I'm very creative. That sets my heart on fire. I love doing it. I love filming videos and I loved making Canva posts. But so I knew by deal five, I was going to need to get some administrative support. And so I had shared administrative support for about 2 years, my first 2 years. And then you get to a point where like shared support just doesn't work anymore because you need someone full-time yourself. And if you're to the stage where you need someone full-time yourself, I mean, my strong recommendation to a mortgage broker would be that that person works directly for you. So they're updating your CRM the way you want it done and really working in your business with you. I think, shared underwriting gets difficult because people have different CRMs and different beats to their work. But like once you're kind of at that $30 million mark, I think you can afford an assistant that's exclusively yours. And so when I hit that in year two, then I got someone that was exclusively working for me.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there any habits or routines that kind of, because that's quite a jump to year number two, get to 30 mil. So I'm
Mm.
wondering, like, wow, like what routines, what habits did you have in place that helped you on the daily
Yeah.
stay focused, manage your time, juggle things?
So this is my full-time job, and I always treated it as such. And so I worked full-time downtown. When I decided to become a mortgage broker, I had a basement office at home, and then I decided to move my office upstairs because it was like very full-time, and I was down in the dark basement by myself. But I would go into that office and close the door. And I very much work 40 or 50 hours a week. I still do. This is my office. I now have a office that I come to, but it's very much my full-time job. And this is the big thing, I think, is that, people say like, I'm going to write a blog post. I'm going to make an Instagram post. I'm going to do 10 calls a day. And you know how long they do it for? Like 2 weeks. They do it as part of an accountability challenge. They do it as part of a New Year's resolution, but then something happens, or they get a dirty file and it takes them away from prospecting. But truly, I have consistently posted on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube for 8 years. I have
Oh, wow.
consistently called referral partners for 8 years. Like there are new referral partners on my roster this year because I continue to prospect. I write down goals every single year about what we're going to do. Like we just had a big team meeting last week. 11 of us sat around the boardroom table at Spire, and I was like, we are doing $30 million more in business next year. What is each of you going to do to contribute to this? Like, we need $30 million more. What does it look like? This is what I'm going to do. And like, we went and like, those goals are written down. I hold people accountable to them. And so, like, I've never had a year where I didn't grow how much I wanted to grow because I wrote down those goals and stayed so committed to what I wanted to do, even when it was hard, even when we were busy, even when I didn't want to do it. Like, I said, I promised myself I was going to post reels this year. Like, I think effective last week, we had posted 132 videos,
Oh my
132
gosh.
videos I shot,
Hello,
edited, and put out
Danielle.
on social media.
One, I'm guessing that you kind of time block and film a bunch of them all together at the
Yeah.
same time. Do you do the editing yourself? Do you delegate that?
Not
Do you have a
anymore.
company?
Yeah. Yeah, so not anymore. We actually hired overseas talent for our editing.
Oh, okay.
And so we did that about halfway through this year. And so I pay somebody $700 a month to do our
Okay.
editing for us. And like it's amazing. It's a
Yeah.
huge like that bought back 20 hours a week of time
Oh,
here.
wow.
So like it's
And if
amazing.
you, yeah, if you quantify that, 20, like 80 hours a month, how much as a
Yeah.
broker, is that time worth? I mean, $700 a month is kind of a no-brainer. So,
Yeah.
it might seem like a lot, but if you're to really kind of lay out the numbers, which I think is important to do when considering investing in these things, if it makes sense, it makes sense. And back to what you said about the business planning, I think that's so important that you do that. That's one thing that I really think a lot of team leads are lacking. They're missing. And especially that you said, I even do it when I'm busy. That's the most important time to do it when you're busy because as brokers, I think we tend to think when our desk is full, it's full, and we don't have any growth or any mind space for focusing
Mhm.
on, okay, this month is full, but what's coming in next month, or the month after, the month after.
Yeah.
So we just get overwhelmed and bogged down in the files right now, but we lose track maybe of, kind of the longevity and what our next 6 months are going to look like. So if you're not able to put time aside for yourself to continue to prospect and make sure that you're reaching out to try to continuously fill that pipeline, what
Yeah.
can you do to maybe delegate that out? Can you
Yeah.
even using a CRM system that, we use Velocity and it's free. We've got a great Gold Rush program that does all that for you, that's set up for you. Or whether that is hiring external talent. Renee's really leaned in on, the podcasting, the socials. That doesn't have, not to say that has to be your thing, that because that is quite an investment in time and energy and money, and you have to be comfortable, putting yourself out there on camera regularly and whatnot. Maybe that's not your thing. But whatever your thing is that interests you, whatever your passion is, figure that out and lean into that.
Also, can I say,
Hmm.
if I don't care if social media is not your thing, it is how clients are checking up on us and making sure we are legitimate. Like it maybe video isn't it, but you have to have a professional presence on LinkedIn at minimum, and you have to be on there regularly. Like it is the way of the world. Like this kind of idea that you can't, that like this isn't how I want to do it. Like it's gone, guys. And like I don't know, maybe like I'm gonna get canceled for saying that, but like show up how you want to show up, but you have to be on those channels. You have to.
No, I totally agree with you because the majority of the time we're not meeting our clients in person anymore. And even if we are, even if it's a personal recommendation that they were a referral to us, let's be honest, they're still probably going to go Google us, look at our, star rating, our reviews, check that we have Facebook, we have Instagram. It's kind of our way of verifying, right? Of building trust that that person is who they say they are. Most people don't know to go and check like the FISGO website for your license number, right? That's
Yeah.
not what they're doing. They're just doing a simple
Yeah.
Google, which is where we're all at. We're all comfortable, and they're making sure that you're showing up, that you have the professional photos, and looking at your interaction with clients.
I was just going to say too, just in terms of the business planning, I just wanted to circle back to that. You cannot do business planning and say, I want to grow. Grow what? Grow how? Grow where? And so when you do your business planning, you need to pick a number. Like I funded 58 files this year. Next year, I'm going to fund 65. Okay, great. How?
Hmm.
And so, like, when we do our business planning, like, I know that effective last Wednesday, I had spoken to 1,030 people on the phone. I know that my goal from 2025 was to convert more applications. I did convert more applications because in 2024, I spoke to 1,300 people on the phone when I did that meeting. So I cut down the number of people I spoke to and I converted to have more applications. So that's excellent. My conversion ratio there was very high. My funding ratio was lower, though, 10% year over year because I lost more deals, likely because it was a more competitive market this year. So I had a 10% lower funding ratio. So interestingly, my actual income wasn't that much better, right? Like I did way more work. I met my goal of converting more of the people that I spoke to applications, but then I did all the work. I submitted deals and I wasn't able to fund them because I got picked off often because of rate. So what's interesting is as I roll into next year, I have a 30% growth goal, but it is really centered around efficiency ratios and figuring out strategies to make sure that if I submit a deal, it funds with me. Like, what am I going to do to make it more sticky, right? And so, like, it was a very intentional team meeting about how we're getting that volume. It wasn't just like, hey, we're going to get 30 million more because I'm going to post another video on TikTok. Nope, that's not it. It's like specifically where is that 30 million going to show up? I would like it to show up like probably 50% of that in my efficiency ratios, being more efficient this year. And so when you guys are doing your business planning, it's like, do I need to talk to more people? Do I need to convert more people to applications? Do I need to convert more applications to live deals? Do I need to make sure that maybe it's I need to help, maybe I have live deals, but I'm submitting them and they're getting declined. Okay, maybe I need help with underwriting. Or in my case, I'm submitting them and I was a little bit less efficient than I wanted to be. So I know I need a full strategy around client retention after mortgage commitment, right? So that's my big focus for where the volume's coming from. So like choose when you're setting that volume target where you need to laser focus and hone in on your business to be more effective and get the goal that you're after. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. I really like that idea. So almost do a SWOT analysis. And hey, it's the end of the year. perfect timing, guys.
Yeah.
Do a SWOT analysis of your business. Like, look at what Renee mentioned, where, maybe where were your points of failure? So maybe it was that you had a lot of leads coming in, but then the contact dropped off. Or maybe it was that, your lender submission exception rate wasn't so hot. Maybe it was
Mhm.
your closing ratio, whatever it was, try to find that spot. I think the more specific, the better, because we can only fix what we're aware of and what we know needs
Yeah.
to be improved. And if that's something that you're saying, I have no idea if I could have fixed it, I would have. Well, what better opportunity to ask our team leads, our mentors, or reach out to, most people in this industry are very, very open with that. So that's very important, I think, to be extremely specific. And if you guys are curious, like what does a business planning template that gets down and dirty into specifics look like? I do have one that I can share with you. So if you want, just do me a favor and shoot me an email. Subject line, the scoop is awesome. I'll put my email in the chat, Sarah at mtgarc.ca, and I can share with you our business plan if you'd like. So when it came to delegating, I want to kind of circle back on that. When did you know it was time? Besides, like, oh, I'm so busy. When did you know it was time, and how did you find that kind of sweet comfort spot to
Mhm.
eliminate your fears around delegating?
Mhm. Um, I think I'm like honestly, please take this with a grain of salt because I think I'm a bad person to ask because I'm so clear on who I am and what I'm good at and what I'm bad at. And I'm bad at a lot of stuff, guys. And so for me, it was very, very obvious 5 deals in that when I was kind of like mucked up with paperwork and like slowing down, it was taking me away from what I know I'm very good at, which is connecting with people and building trust quickly on the phone. And so, deal 5, I was like, yep, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to need administrative support, period. So it was very easy for me to get clear on that. And then for me, delegation, I don't have a problem with it. And I don't know. I actually think it comes from a place of like, I don't have a big ego. Like I make mistakes all the time. And
Mhm.
when I make mistakes, like I just fix them and I own them and I apologize. And I don't make them again. Like I write it down and I make sure that I understand what went wrong and how to make sure I'm leveling up. And so like when you hire someone, like they're going to make mistakes because they're human. And so like delegation doesn't scare me. I'm good at having hard conversations and being transparent with people. So it was easy to build a relationship with an assistant and just say like, hey, listen, I know you're going to screw up. I know I'm going to screw up. Like, let's talk about it and make sure the next time we do it better. Um, and so I think that we create big stories about how important we are in the file. And like
Yeah.
we have this
Yeah.
big story that we're not replaced or like we can't be replaced. And I don't believe that to be true. Like there's a lot of people here at Spire that work for me that do an amazing job, probably better than I do half the time. And it's because I've given them an opportunity to rise, you know?
A
Yeah.
100%. I think I really like what you said is that we tell ourselves these lies that we're so important on every aspect of the file, but it's not true. If we're to take a
No.
step back, there are plenty of programs or assistants, or maybe you have a deal desk, something that you can rely on. That this job is not rocket science.
Yeah.
We can all use delegation for sure.
Yeah.
So, what kind of systems have been key to handling your business? Are you kind of really relying on right now?
Yeah. So I am a huge, huge user of my CRM. Every single person that calls, email, texts me, and for 8 years, like from day one, every single person that's reached out about a renewal or any opportunity has been documented in a CRM. So, in 8 years, I have like I don't know, I think it's like over 8,000 person database now. And so like that is lucrative, right? Because I can send market updates to those people now because they've always been organized. And so every single mortgage that we've ever funded is documented there as well, as is the renewal date for every property that's associated with that file or that cosigner or anybody that we've ever talked to. And so, like next year, I'm finally into my renewal years. I'm feeling excited. Not that renewal business is easy, but excited to, be rolling into a year where we've got, I think we funded 143 deals 5 years ago or something. So it's like we're coming into a good year of renewals, but we've also found like about another 50, 60, 70 million dollars a year of business that's already documented in renewals where we didn't do the mortgages, but we just opportunity scrubbed those out of our database just from like talking to people on the phone. So not only do I have my 143 deals that are coming up for renewal, I've also got like another $50 million in business to lose, right? Like it's just to lose. All of that is organized. Like it's in there and it was never mine to begin with, but like I have an opportunity to win it. So it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's mine to lose. So it's exciting to know that we're rolling into the year with that. So yeah, what kind of systems do I use? I use my CRM and it doesn't matter what CRM I'm using. I don't even want to talk about it because it doesn't matter what CRM you have. It's the one that you use that
Yeah.
works. Whether it's an Excel spreadsheet or, a Salesforce based or Zoho based, or if you're using Velocity, entering every lead in Velocity, you can do that.
Mhm.
There's lots of options out there. So just I think being dedicated to my CRM is huge. And the money is made in a CRM before you have an application, guys. That's the trick. And that's what
Hmm.
people miss is like most people don't get intentional with their file until they have an application. You're not getting an application from everyone you talk to, but you do get a name, phone number, and email from almost everyone you talk to. So that's where the money's made. That's where you're building your databases before you have the application.
That's very, very true. I think a lot of people make that mistake in the sense that their CRM is, or if they have one, or their communication to clients is on par, but once the deal is received, they're
Yeah.
not really, thinking about the before or the after even, because upon
Mhm.
closing, there's still another opportunity, like you said, you've got coming into your big renewal years with
Yeah.
all those opportunities that aren't guaranteed, but opportunities for business. That, if you were to kind of not focus on them whatsoever, how much business would you be missing out on, right? So I think everyone really not every potential lead or file or maturity date on a mortgage not entered into your CRM is an opportunity
I was
missed.
gonna say it takes self-control, right? Because like when you're busy or when you're like at a party and somebody asks you about a mortgage renewal and you have a one-off conversation, you should put their number in your phone or email yourself their number and their email and their renewal date and their property address even like at that little party, because that's a lead. And it takes a ton of self-control to take that and get it in a CRM. And listen, do I have it right 100% of the time? No, but do I have it right a lot of the time? Yes. And that a difference between like how fast I was able to grow and how fast others were able to grow? 100%. And it's just self-control, right? Like, hey, I am committed to doing this properly every single time.
So any kinds of opportunities in the marketplace you see? I know you did say a little bit about that renewal market. Do you want to kind of elaborate on that right now, or is there any other opportunities you see out there that maybe are being overlooked?
I think that our mortgage market is very provincially segmented, and so I can speak to Alberta with being
Mhm.
intelligent. I can't speak to all the other provinces because I know that there's a lot of different things going on in the other provinces. So please put that filter on anything I'm saying, you guys. We did have a big run up since COVID, and so there is very much refinance opportunity at renewal. And so absolutely we need to be, positioning those conversations properly. I think that thank God we're going to be in an upward rate market this year. I do hope that rates move up a little bit. It is so much easier for us to compete in renewals in an upward trending market than in a downward trending market, right? So I actually think it will be more easy to be effective with refinances and renewals in 2026 than it was in 2025, with stable to upward rates versus stable to downward. And so I think it will be easier. So be out early, because if you're out early, then hopefully you can lock in a lower rate before we have some upward trending. So I think that's going to be an opportunity for all of us. So I think the name of the game this year is going to be communication and early communication with clients. And so, and if you are not doing, know this, if you are not doing it, someone else is. Whether it is the current lender, whether it is another broker, I know like we're going to be pushing stuff out all over the place. So like I think that you kind of have to think of it that way in your business this year. That like it is an opportunity to be out early. It's hopefully going to be an upward trending rate market where you can show value by locking in rates for clients early. And yeah, I think, here's the other thing too. This is always the case, but I'll stress that, obviously the media is broken still, so much misinformation. And so I do think there's lots of opportunities if you want to get out and educate clients about, what they should actually be thinking about with regards to their mortgage. I think there's lots of education opportunities. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And whether that's just kind of sending out a newsletter or offer to check in social posts, book a free mortgage checkup with me, or you're actually, recording some kind of social media video or podcast, no matter what level you're doing it at, I think, done is better than perfect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know if anyone was on my calls, but I showed a video that I recorded because I've been putting out videos since 2019,
Mhm.
pretty consistently. And like my videos look tricked out now. But I mean, my video from 2019, it was hilarious. Like it had I had cut myself into like, I'd spoken sound bites. That's the trick, guys, with video. Hold your hands in the same place, speak in sound bites. So it's just, little clips that you can edit together. And I had the like face spitting in iMovie editing that I'd done on my computer. And it
To
was a
like
rate
fade
up.
to black and then
Yeah.
oh my God,
And
I love
so,
that. But
yeah, it
it's
doesn't have to be perfect.
it's
Yeah.
the message that's important, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
So I
Um,
want to talk a little bit about realtors. How would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of your realtor referral relationships?
You know what? I am so fortunate to work with like some amazing realtors. And what's interesting is as I've gotten older in the business, some folks decide not to work with me. And every single time a realtor decided not to work with me, 5 years ago, it was like a knife to the heart, guys. Like it was just devastating to me. And what's so interesting is that as I've become more mature in the business and just as a human being, I realized that like sees like. So, it just seems that every year I sort of hone in a little bit more on who wants to work with me and who I want to work with and why. And so I'm so grateful. Like there's folks that I've worked with for 1 year and there's folks I've worked with for 8 years, but I'm kind of getting a vibe of, the kind of folks that do want to work with me. And so, um, and the people that want to work with me are people that just want to get deals done. So I like to work full time. They are full-time realtors. We're not meeting for lunch all the time. We're not meeting for drinks all the time. They're people that are working, doing a high volume of deals because they're super dedicated to their full-time craft. And so that's worked out really well for me.
You said you were lucky, but I don't know if that's luck so much as, strategy and the way that you've gone about it. So for people listening who are kind of still stuck in that coffee invitation, having trouble turning that relationship into something actually productive, how do they make that change and how do they introduce maybe those conversations with comfort?
Yeah. Super good question. So for me, like, uh, clearly I like the sound of my own voice. I'm here talking away today, but for me, I really try to show up with education. So like, how can I educate you? Educate your clients, create content for you. So like for realtors, I'm happy to go on a podcast with them or have them on my podcast. I'm happy to write a blog for them or have them write a blog and put it out across my social channels. I'm happy to do a first-time home buyer seminar, do an investment seminar, come in and educate new agents. So like anyone that owns a real estate office, I'll say, hey, listen, Do you have a group of new agents that might need a mortgage one-on-one, 101 scenario? Do you have a group of new agents that might need, like I have a couple of slide decks that I update every year. So I have Mortgages 101, I have the reality of rental real estate, and a few things like that that are educational based slide decks I put together for realtors. So I'll say, hey, I can come in anytime. I'll bring lunch, I'll bring treats. Do you have any new agents where it would be helpful for them to learn about some of this stuff? And so, it's all showing up in service. And so
Hmm.
that's really how I've kind of jumped over the hump from like, hey, can I take you for a coffee? Well, what value is there in that?
Yeah.
There's no value.
A
And so
$5
like,
coffee.
yeah, like, so you have to make sure you're saying like, hey, I've got this cool thing that might help you get a client, right? They don't want a mortgage broker, they want a client. And telling realtors that you're going to refer them is just BS because,
Hmm.
like, you're not going to run into four clients in a year, right? Like, you probably need a roster of 10 producing realtors if you want to have, a pretty good realtor-based business as a mortgage broker. So you probably need 10, and you probably need to be updating that because you're going to have some attrition every year. And so, it's unrealistic. You're going to refer each of them four clients. Like that's just bonkers, guys. So don't tell them that, right? That's just starting your relationship on the wrong foot. So tell them you're going to show them value in a different way. Like, hey, I can help you create content. I can help you learn more about XYZ. I can co-brand, whatever in this neighborhood. I'll come help you hand out pumpkins at your annual pumpkin giveaway. Like, I don't know. You just got to show up and be useful, right?
I think the value add there is key. So not empty promises that we can't keep, actions are louder than words, but it's more so, and even if it's a first time reach out, that realtor doesn't know you,
Yeah.
whether they even want to pick up your phone call and have a conversation with you, you have maybe a few seconds to get their attention. And if you're telling them right away from second number one, like what is the value for them in it, um,
Yeah.
then I think that that's truly like a way into their heart. And just by showing them value right away, and you do it so personably. So I think you did give some good examples there about, for example, you said going into their office and offering one-on-ones with the new agents. What
Yeah.
are some other ones that you've done?
Yeah, like think about an open house. Like, hey, when's your next open house coming up? Okay, can I help you put out signs? You know what? Should I show up with some balloons? What colors would you like? Right? Like what a small investment. Would you like me to pick up the balloons and I'll where are your signs going to be? I'll go tie the balloons and then pop into the open house. Would you like some open house sheets? Like what would it take to buy this house? Right?
Mhm.
I'll print those out and make sure they're there. And like that's work, right? A lot of us want to sit behind our computer and not do that work. Like we don't want to do the elbow grease, right? But like we actually have to go do some of that stuff. Like literally in the last 2 weeks, or not 2 weeks, maybe 2 months, I've been at like 3 or 4 show home openings, right? For a builder partner and taking gift baskets and, for whatever their draws and, just doing anything and everything that we can to show up and be helpful. So I would say like, and it doesn't always have to be a bunch of money, right? Because I know when you're starting, you don't have money always for $100 gift basket. But the balloons to tie on something, or hey, I bought one of those Costco balloon things and I have 50 balloons. Do you want me to come and blow up balloons at your show home opening for kids? Like,
Mhm.
right? It's just those small ways to just connect and spend some time, right?
So maybe changing your investment mindset instead of I'm going to, take five realtors to lunch to how can I instead spend that money on helping them shine, right?
Yes.
Helping them and their brand shine and them do better. And in turn, developing our relationship with something actually tangible that is it's transactional, it's focused on the business.
Yeah. They want a client. That's what
Yeah.
you have to remember is like, that's what you're solving for. Right. And
Mhm.
so telling them that you're going to have one to refer them is crazy because you also aren't going to be able to do that every single year. But it's like, what can you do for them to get a client? That's what you're solving for. Yeah.
Yeah, if you can solve a problem for them, which is maybe lack of clients, then you'll be their friend for life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So another difficult thing there I know is what if they say, I already have a broker that I work with?
Yeah. anyone good should have a good broker. That's awesome. I would love it if you could add me to your roster, right? I'd love to be a second set of eyes. But like compliment them. Anyone that is good at their craft should have a good mortgage broker. So that's awesome. I'd love to be a second set of eyes. Things change. You have no idea that broker could retire tomorrow. So, compliment them on the relationship that they have. Let them know that you love an opportunity to, win them over at some point, be a second set of eyes, and make your next call,
That's
right?
great. I think a lot of people tend to shrink away and see, oh
Yeah.
no, their rejection flags go up and they're like, okay, never mind, but that's not a rejection at all. It's actually like, all successful realtors are going to have brokers that they work with. So
Yeah.
I think that's a really good approach is to turn that into a compliment. And yeah, of course you do. You've done so well. I'm not surprised. I'm sure they're a great broker. I'd love to be,
Yeah.
a second choice for you, or if something happens and you're in need, you need someone else to call, you know
Mhm.
I would love to be that
Yeah.
person kind of thing. And you know what, your day will come, your day will come.
Yeah. 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 It will. It will. Like, I mean, guys, I had no idea what I was doing, right? So,
Yeah.
anyone that uses me took a bet on me. And so, yeah, work like a dog when you get the opportunity to win them over, right?
And then work like a dog even harder.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we're at the top of the hour, Renee. I just want to end off with one final question, and I
Mhm.
really appreciate your time and your expertise. I
Sure.
know you're like back to back, you're super busy. So,
All
guys, we're
good.
so lucky to have her time with us here today. So, last question, like, one piece of advice that you would give to people who are still kind of hoping to dig in and kick off a little bit more, hit the ground running. What would you maybe have looking back done differently, or one thing you think they should lean in on?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay. So the big thing, if you want to do more of anything, is to be intentional about what you're doing. And so, like, I've honed in on that more and more, but honestly, even looking back, I could have done such a better job even in years one and two.
Mhm.
And so, you guys, you have to track what you're doing and you have to reflect on it. And so, it doesn't matter if you are on year one or year 20, you have to track what you're doing and ask questions about your results and then be intentional about your next steps. Like, I honestly think if you are articulate and kind, you can accidentally do 20 or 30 million in this business fairly easily. But if you are articulate and kind and intentional, like it's so possible to do a massive amount of volume if that's what you want, because you just can hone in on it and get a little bit better all the time if you're actually tracking what you're doing. So, if I can challenge you to do anything in 2026, it's just to, start asking those questions. Where are these leads coming from? Where am I writing them down? How many of them am I converting to applications? How many of them am I converting to funded mortgages? Where did it go well? Where did it go wrong? And, just really holding yourself accountable to asking some of those questions every 3 months in your business and then just like cranking it down, getting a little bit better for your next quarter. So,
Business planning, being very intentional with the business plan. I like that.
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Well, Renee, thank you so much for joining us today. We really
of course.
appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
Everybody,
Thank
we
you.
will see you in the new year. And I hope you all have a great holiday and take some time off, but not too much time. No, I'm just kidding.
Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. It's always flattering that anyone shows up to any of these calls. So thank you so much. Happy holidays and good luck, everybody, in 2026. I hope it goes really, really well for you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.